Yes, welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to be talking about the new DJI Mavic Air. Now first of all, I don't have one. I'm not one of those big lovely review YouTube channels where they have all of the lovely models well in advance. However, what I am going to do is talk about some of the technical differences between the new Mavic Air and the existing Mavic Pro, because there's a lot of things to look at and this really does look like an outstanding aircraft. However, there's some stuff you need to be aware of. So let's get started. Now, I'm going to be showing some stuff on the laptop screen, but I'll jump to stills on that so you won't be looking at this boring image all the way through. So let's get on with it. Okay, so DJI have released the Mavic Air. Now, this is a smaller version of the DJI Mavic. Size-wise, it sits somewhere between the Spark and the Mavic Pro. It folds like the Mavic does, and when it is folded, it's actually smaller than the Spark. And then when the legs are open, it's only a little bit bigger. Now, weight-wise, it comes in at 430 grams, which is 130 grams more than the Spark, and it sits right between the weights, really, of the Spark and the Mavic Pro. Flight time is 21 minutes, and it uses a 3S 2375 milliamp hour battery. Now, this is not the same battery as the Spark or the Mavic Pro. It is a new battery altogether, and it is actually a lithium-ion cobalt battery, and it's the first time DJI have used this technology in their aircraft. The model itself comes with an all-new design. Unlike the Spark, the battery goes on from the bottom, unlike the Mavic where it clips on the top. It has 3 directions of object avoidance, so it can sense from front, underneath and back, and it has cameras, 2 cameras on the front, 2 visual positioning cameras underneath, and 2 visual positioning cameras on the rear. It also has some infrared sensors as well, and these alongside the main camera are used to detect objects and do a lot of the new enhanced features. It has a 3-axis gimbal, unlike the Spark, so it's not the same gimbal they use on the Mavic Pro. It looks similar to the Spark one, but they have added a 3rd axis for stabilization this time, and it has a max speed of 68 miles per hour, which makes it faster than both the Mavic Pro and the Spark in a straight line. It does have all the usual modes like sport mode and things like that, and you also do not have a user selectable ATTI mode either, just like the Mavic and the Spark. DJI have also included this new thing called Flight Autonomy 2.0. Now, this is a whole new set of smart features of how the aircraft reacts to its environment around it. So, for instance, it uses visual inertial odometry. Now, this calculates the aircraft's speed and altitude in real time using the visual position sensors underneath, whether at hover or moving, to help it be very accurate in its position when not using GPS. Because of this, it's also allowed it to increase the visual positioning system range to 30 meters. It also has something called 3D map building. This processes data from the 7 cameras, so that is the 6 position cameras, 2 on the front, 2 underneath and 2 on the rear, as well as the main aircraft camera and IR sensors to build a 3D map of the environment around it so it knows exactly where it is. Third, it has something called APAS, Advanced Pilot Assistance System. Now, this will basically automatically plan a route around an object. So whereas on the Mavic Pro, when you flew up to something, object avoidance would hit in and it would stop, this will now plan a route to avoid the objects automatically for you. So it's very similar to the Intel RealSense system used on other products. Alongside this, there's a whole host of redundancy. One of them is called Vision Compass, and this is used to estimate direction when the aircraft is being used indoors, and it uses the cameras to make sure that it's flying straight. It also has redundancy on all of the sensors, so if one of the directions of sensors fails, so if the front obstacle avoidance or the rear obstacle avoidance isn't available, it will still use the other sensors, and it has a number of independent hardware platforms on board, so if an error does occur, it will switch over to the other platform to keep the sensors working for you, so you know you're not going to get a failure. Unlike the Mavic Pro, it also has the smart return to home. Now this is the features we first saw on the Phantom 4 Pro and the Inspire 2. And this is the feature where it will basically fly back the path it took on the route out. So if the craft enters failsafe, normally on the Mavic Pro, for instance, it would fly a direct line of sight back to the pilot, whereas this feature will actually navigate battery dependent back on the route you took to help it find its way back whilst avoiding obstacles. Again, whilst using return to home, obstacle avoidance will be active and the cameras will sense and avoid any objects that are in the aircraft's way. Moving on to the camera, it's a 12 megapixel sensor with 1/2.3 CMOS sensor, f2.8 lens, which is 35mm equivalent, and it actually has a 24mm lens. It records in 4K 30 frames a second. However, the bitrate has now been upped to 100 megabytes a second. Now this is up from 60 on the Mavic Pro. The big benefit to this is you can now actually record in 60 frames a second in 2.7K and 120 frames a second in 1080p. They've also included this new 32 megapixel pano mode, so the aircraft will take a number of stills to create a large panoramic picture. However, the difference with this one is, whereas before this was done in the DJI Go app, all of the panoramic stitching is now handled on board the processing in the aircraft. To do this, they have had to up the onboard processing power quite substantially, but it means you should get a much better pano output from the aircraft. You can also turn this feature off and still use the traditional method for panos as well. They've also included 8 gigabytes of internal storage. Now this is actually a really cool little feature, and this means if you forget your SD card, because it still does take an SD card, but it will record up to 8 gigs on board. So it means if you head out and you've left your SD card at home, you can still take some footage. And while 8 gigabytes isn't necessarily enough to do full 4K, it does mean that your trip may not have been a complete total waste of time. Alongside this, it has all of the usual smart modes like Active Track, Quick Shots, Smart Capture, which is a new mode, and Tap Fly. Moving on to the remote controller and connection, because here there are some quite substantial differences between both the Spark and the Mavic Pro. It uses a new remote controller which is very similar to both the Spark one and the Mavic Pro, but it is different and it is not the same RC. It doesn't have a screen or 4D buttons, but it does have larger grips for the phones, and the sticks are now removable, and they've put a small compartment in the base where you can put the sticks into. Another thing they have changed is, whereas on the Spark you had to connect your smart device to the aircraft and the controller via Wi-Fi, like the Mavic Pro, you now connect the smart device to the controller via the same USB connection on the side. However, the connection between the aircraft and the remote controller is still Wi-Fi. However, DJI have called this enhanced Wi-Fi, and it will now give a 720p 30 frames a second link up to 4 kilometers in range, and it supports both 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8 gigahertz, and it's got an all new antenna design both on the RC and the aircraft. Comparing this to the Mavic Pro, which has a latency of approximately 160 to 170 milliseconds, the new Mavic Air is 170 to 240 milliseconds. So whilst it's a little bit more, there isn't a lot in it, and for a Wi-Fi connection, this is extremely impressive. It does also support both the DJI goggles and DJI Goggles Race Edition, and this is via the USB port on the bottom of the controller, and it is not via wireless OcuSync like on the main Mavic. It's the same as you would have on the DJI Spark. Talking about the rest of the differences, overall this is an entirely new aircraft, and it does clearly sit between both models. Comparing it to the Mavic Pro, I've had a look over the footage, and in my opinion the footage from the new Mavic Air is substantially better than the Mavic Pro. However, it's probably not quite as good as something like a Phantom 4 Pro with a 1-inch sensor, but overall the footage samples I have seen today have been extremely impressive. Talking about the other systems, yes, it doesn't have a screen on the remote controller and it does use this new enhanced Wi-Fi, and whilst that might not be quite as good as the Mavic Pro, looking at the reports, it is still extremely impressive. If you take into account all of the new additional smart features DJI have added, the Mavic Air is an extremely attractive aircraft in my opinion, and if you were looking to purchase a Mavic Pro right now, I would seriously consider looking at the Air. The only real thing that would swing the Pro compared to the Air for me is if you did require that extreme range that you do get from the OcuSync on the Mavic Pro. Pricing, they've priced it at $769 for the basic model and $999 for the Fly More combo. In the Fly More combo, you get an additional 2 batteries, a power bank adapter for charging your phone or smart device, a travel bag, a charge hub, and extra props. The only thing you do not get in the Fly More combo with this one, which you did in the Mavic Pro, is the car charger. That is going to be available separately in the future. As I said, if you were going to decide between a Spark, the new Mavic Air and the Mavic Pro, I will be honest, I honestly do think this new Mavic Air is a very, very nice aircraft. It will do 99% of what people want it to do. The new improved camera with all of the new enhanced features make it far more attractive than both the Spark and the Mavic Pro, and because of its size sits between the two, the portability aspect makes it a real winner. For me, it's a no-brainer. If you're going to order one, I would go for the Mavic Air right now. That is it for this video. I'm hoping to be able to get my hands on one of these in the near future. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to make that happen. However, if you would like to support the channel and me be able to do some videos on this, there are some links in the description for this video where you can order your DJI Mavic Air now. Otherwise, thank you very, very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and I will do another video again soon.